What's up guys, RBG here bringing you another update on Marvel's Avengers, and it's been quite a while since I made a video on this particular game. I think it's been almost 3 weeks since our last update, and that's simply because there wasn't much to talk about other than the patches the game would be receiving. And other than occasionally reporting on rumored characters, I felt it was necessary to let the devs do what they have to do, because as you know, the game hasn't been in the best condition since it launched. So I thought it was best to wait until there was some major news, and today we have some major news, some good and some bad, so stay tuned. Now before we jump into today's video, I want to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, G2A. If you're looking for a way to purchase the hottest video games without burning a hole in your wallet, you should really consider checking them out. They offer key codes for different platforms such as Steam, PS Network, and Xbox for half the price of the original. So why wouldn't you want to take advantage of this deal? You absolutely lose if you overpay. So go ahead and seize the win. You can do so by clicking the link that will be provided in the description of this video. But yeah guys, as I said, we have some major good news and some major bad news. Firstly, we got to talk about the major good news. On Friday, market research firm the NPD Group said Marvel's Avengers recorded the second highest launch for a superhero game in US history, trailing only behind Marvel's Spider-Man in terms of dollar sales. And this is crazy. Like, I know the Avengers brand carries a lot of weight, especially with the MCU at the forefront, but I didn't think the game would beat out the likes of Batman Arkham. And I know that people are going to say the main reason the game sold well was because of the brand recognition, but what does that say about other games like Ultimate Alliance? It boasted an even bigger roster than this game, and it had a pretty substantial following. If anything, Marvel's Avengers was able to pull in major sales numbers because of the promising features Square and Crystal were going to deliver with this title. Now, if you're asking if they did deliver on all fronts, I would say yeah, kinda. The game pretty much gave us what we were looking for, but the takeoff has been somewhat stilted. Although Marvel's Avengers has been an absolute blast to play, it's been played with an overwhelming amount of bugs that have kept it from reaching its full potential. And we already know that not every game is going to come out the gate perfect, right? Like, there have been plenty of top-selling games that were riddled with glitches, whether it be because of bad porting or the fact that the tasks were so huge that the devs simply couldn't deliver their game in pristine condition. This seems to be the case with Crystal Dynamics in terms of truly fulfilling their promise of giving us this insane superhero game that fans can play for years to come. Believe it or not, even though I haven't been making frequent videos on Marvel's Avengers, I'm still enjoying playing the game. I've enjoyed bumping into some of the subscribers who are familiar with this channel and chopping it up with them, but I'm always reminded of how unpolished the game is whenever I talk to you guys about the various things that annoy us. And there's always the off chance that I could be in the middle of a conversation and the other players get booted from the mission, leaving me with 2 additional Hulks or up to 7 Avengers members. Stuff like that is infuriating, and because of these issues, many players are dropping out or taking a break until the bugs are completely fixed, particularly on the PC version. And this is the negative topic that a bunch of the detractors have taken and have made it into a bigger thing than it already is. Like, they're even saying that player counts are dropping across all the platforms, including the PS4 and Xbox One X. But things for the consoles have been generally consistent. Of course, some are putting the game down to play other new titles that have dropped, which is common in gaming. I know I occasionally take breaks from Avengers and go play other titles while I wait for newer missions such as the Mega Hives, but that doesn't mean I'm leaving the game for good. Even though the PS4 version has its fair share of issues, is still playable, and it's been that way since the beta. But the PC version, on the other hand, has had serious issues since players first got their hands on it. We're talking bad frame rates and anti-aliasing among other problems that make the game unplayable. And even though Marvel's Avengers has been out for well over a month, the PC community is still dealing with a ton of issues that the console users simply aren't. Just last week, it was reported that matchmaking problems in Avengers were being exacerbated by a declining player count, with the PC version dipping below 1,000 concurrent players for the second consecutive day on October the 9th. In a statement published last Thursday via Kotaku, Crystal Dynamics studio head Scott Amos said the developers was listening to the concerns and suggestions of the player base and insisted he was confident that its audience numbers would grow. And I honestly think that the number ultimately will shoot through the roof. Like, I don't think you guys realize that there have been plenty of games as a service titles that were deemed dead on arrival, but once they were polished with additional content, they were the best games. Games like Destiny instantly come to mind. Like, that game had a whole redemption arc where it went from one of the most underwhelming titles to arguably one of the most played games as a service titles. Hell, Grand Theft Auto 5's online multiplayer was crap at launch, and now it's become one of the features that's kept the game relevant for all these years. So there's always light at the end of the tunnel, and I think that fans who dismiss this game will ultimately return once they see how much fun the game has gotten. I honestly hope that they just take a break and come back later to see how much of a difference it would be compared to the initial launch. A few days ago, we got some awesome new Warzone mission types called the Tachyon Rifts, which is a new outpost that's a jumping off point for the story missions in the future in AIM's cloning lab, which requires players to perform at a high level. And these missions have come with patches to rectify certain issues, so Crystal Dynamics is trying their best to give us everything we need to keep our attention on Marvel's Avengers. They've even been generous enough to compensate players with things such as Uru and Polycore runs. In the next update, beginning on October 22nd, players will receive a digital thank you bundle, which includes 1,500 credits, which is enough for a legendary skin and nameplate from the marketplace, 7,000 units, 250 upgrade modules, and 20 DNA keys. And these are some awesome tokens of appreciation by the developers. Like, if you guys are playing with any in-game build characters equipped with exotics or legendaries, then you know how fast they eat up your resources. So those 250 upgrade modules and DNA keys are really going to come in handy. Crystal Dynamics went on to say that they've already started implementing feedback-driven features in the game. Examples in yesterday's patch include an increase to the radius of which rewards are automatically drawn to the player and the ability to preview cosmetics from the vendors prior to purchase. Paired with the release of Marvel's Avengers Shield Substation Zero, they've also added terminals and outposts to make accepting faction missions and assignments much quicker. They're actively working on new community-driven features for the coming months, including but not limited to the Avengers Initiative ping system, which is a system that will allow players to mark objectives, resources, health crates, and enemies, and allow players to command AI companions to hack and smash doors or prioritize specific enemies. The next thing we have is the Reassemble campaign replay, which is an option to reset the Reassemble campaign and replay it with all your heroes' levels and gear intact. High Contrast Mode is an accessibility feature that will allow the player to apply solid darkened veils behind the text to improve readability. We have the Hero Icon Visibility, which is an option to adjust the display of identifying icons above a superhero's head to be on default or dynamic. Next up is the Mission Reward Clarity, which is improved clarity around mission-specific rewards when viewed on the war table. This will allow players to more strategically take on missions to meet their current goals and seek out specific gear and resources. And last but most certainly not least, we have the off-screen and ranged enemy attack indicators, which better gives you feedback for players to avoid off-screen and ranged enemy attacks. And I'm not sure if I'm correct on this, so don't quote me, but I don't think the Reassemble campaign replay means they say New Game Plus, as many are assuming. But it's still awesome that we're even getting a chance to replay the story mode at all. Delivering story-driven games is where Crystal Dynamics shines the most, and the solo campaign was arguably the biggest highlight of Marvel's Avengers. Like, I honestly think if Crystal Dynamics wasn't tasked with creating the online looter-shooter brawler experience, Marvel's Avengers would have been a far better title than it is now. But anyways, it's dope that players who prefer going in missions solo finally have the chance to give commands to the AI companions, because it was really stupid going into missions with characters who obviously wield the specific abilities to access certain rooms, but the rooms can't be accessed if you're not playing/controlling those specific characters. I was happy that they fixed other characters such as Captain America, who should have automatically been able to smash through walls at the beginning, but this little update has made me even happier. Now, what hasn't made me happy is how long it's been taking for us to receive post-launch heroes. I think I speak for everyone when I say that it's getting annoying jumping into a room only to discover that someone else has already selected the character that you wanted to play with. So having these additional characters who fit your preferred playstyle will somewhat ease that burn. And it felt like we were getting closer to rectifying this issue. That's until yesterday when we found out about that major bad thing I mentioned earlier. Apparently next-gen versions and post-launch heroes of Marvel's Avengers have been delayed. Initially, Kate Bishop was due to be added this month, while the game was scheduled to be available on launch for the Xbox Series S and PS5 in November. And in a way, I'm both annoyed and understanding of this delay. I didn't want this to happen, but I had a nagging suspicion that it would, and that's simply because the pandemic has made it more difficult for Crystal Dynamics to deliver this in-game content. Like, the fact that they're working from their homes and they have been working there since the game's launch should tell you everything. If I'm not mistaken, Crystal Dynamics has 2 different studio divisions, so if they were actually in those workstations, getting this stuff out would be a cakewalk. But they have to get things done separately as opposed to working in unison as they would if they were at their cubicles. So this delay is a bummer. But on the flip side, I think it's for the best, because the team wants to make sure that Kate Bishop and her upcoming missions are polished upon arrival. And I'm pretty sure that there's bound to be some issues when she gets here. Like, you guys have already heard me say, anytime Crystal adds a new character or update, they're instantly upsetting the balance. So things are going to have to change with every single patch, because they have to see how the characters functions amongst the others. Games as a service is a constantly shifting ecosystem, and things aren't going to get any easier for the devs until this virus completely goes away. But I still feel like this delay will give Crystal enough time to see what works and what doesn't. They just announced that they'll be introducing Omega level threats for high-end players, and we're finally going to be able to play in multiplayer Omega hives instead of going in solo. So things seem to be on the up and up. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and end this video. Let me know what you guys think about all these updates. Do you like that we finally get to give commands to AI companions? And how do you feel about Kate Bishop being delayed? hit me up in the comments below. As always, I ask you like or dislike the video. It doesn't have to be a thumbs up, it can be a thumbs down. Any feedback is good feedback and will only help me improve on my future content. But if you really enjoyed the video, it'll help you out tremendously if you share it with all your friends and followers on social media. Sharing really makes a difference. But once again, this is your boy RBG signing out on another video. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.